does get a nice surround here. We'll start looking away out of it, but NaNiwa is fully committing to this.
He's actually got another one in there. Yep. That's it. I mean, it's not it for the game at all, guys, but that's it for the hatchery. Absolutely.
And behind this, of course, he has followed up his own taking cannon at the natural, because the follow-up is, of course, the links going to your opponent's natural, but the opponent can't tap finish. Now he should cancel his hatchery. Should cancel his hatchery.
He actually, okay, he is going to cancel it and go build it elsewhere. Letting the hatch finish could provide some interesting benefits for him, but overall...
Well, NaNiwa had a second photon cannon here. I think he'd be okay if you're right with that, as in he wouldn't be able to kill off the hatchery with one photon cannon, but with two, that makes it really, really hard to hold the hatchery.
Yeah, NaNiwa was really on the ball there, canceling
he canceled it two right afterwards, too.
That's actually a trademark, guys, for like these really, really high-level players. If it's something you've never thought about, look at the timing of when you build your cannons. You want to make sure that if you're going to kill something with two cannons, for instance, if somebody builds like a macro hatch in your main, one cannon allows them enough time to get out a queen, so they can start spreading creep tumors and such at your base. But if you hide your second cannon and make it that it will finish just after the hatchery, so it won't actually start shooting, the Zerg will think there's only one cannon, they won't cancel, and then there will be two that kill it immediately before they can make a queen. So that's what NaNiwa was doing there. It's super smart.
Live Zerg checking to make sure that there is no more photon cannons third, and now he's forced to actually expand to this fourth now to get his third hatchery, and this is actually really, really, really hard to hold if any pushes come his way. So NaNiwa wanted to be a little bit more active on the map and make sure that this isn't happening, because of course a lot of players actually spawn on this side, because it feels a little bit safer just at home. I don't think it actually is in terms of distance, but it feels safer as a Zerg player.
Well, it's a lot more open.
Yeah, and
so
you got the Naga, much less easier to watch the side of the pathing too. So, but this fourth going up, well, it's a third at the fourth position. Could be quite dangerous for live Zerg base. And go ahead and allow this pylon and photon cannon to sit. And as that sits for a while, that might be getting a little bit antsy here for NaNiwa. He'll go and try and figure out where exactly his hatcheries are at. Because if no aggression's coming, then obviously your opponent's a little expanded.
Well, taking a look back at that fourth base of live Zerg, it actually suffers from classic Antigua syndrome. The hatchery can be used as an extra large force field to hurt the Zerg player. If live Zerg wants to defend this against a push, he has to approach from the south. This hatchery can be used in conjunction with force fields to cut him off. Now, if you look instead at that expansion you were talking about, Tim, over to the right-hand side, if live Zerg comes over to defend this expansion, the attack's coming from the north. Live Zerg comes up from the south. The hatchery plays no role whatsoever in cutting live Zerg's forces in half, and so it's definitely not going to be a detriment to him.
Have you been playing Protoss, man?
What?
You've been playing Protoss?
I died of Protoss a lot.
Dropping these knowledge bombs on me. That's actually a really good analysis there, man.
I think I am going to start calling it Antigua syndrome, though. I've never used that one, but it's like so bad on Antigua on that third base.
Well, NaNiwa does scout this natural down on the left. Does some decent micro actually with these Zerglings, getting some nice damage, and needs to be a little bit careful of that Stalker. The Zealot do make it in. He can actually work in some units as well to defend the Zealot. He does not. He's actually too busy dealing with these Stalkers that are actually trying to deal with these Lings. Some nice micro overall, some nice control from NaNiwa. But these Zerglings should be able to catch him, and he actually has the flank on the side, but he is joking and jiving, man. He is like Mike.
Oh, that's such a sad missed micro out of live Zerg, who had an opportunity there to get a complete surround on both those Stalkers. Somehow missed it. Luckily, they're not Hellions, so then the Zerglings didn't die.
Yeah.
That's just adding pain and misery, but here we are now. It doesn't look like NaNiwa was actually going to go for a huge wait. Wait. Actually, can we look at his Forge?
Yeah, sure.
I wouldn't expect him to miss a ton like this, but he has completed +1. His Twilight Council's down. He's got a couple of gateways and no Robo. You don't typically expand off just a Twilight Council. See if Blink starts up here in a second. That's what I'm really looking for. Blink and +2.
Yeah, it's got to be Blink. That's one thing.
He's actually warping in Zealots right now. +1 Zealot is going to be what he tries to do, but no, there's a lot of Roaches here, and this is all going to go down. That's actually a really nice victory for Live Zerg, getting a very cost-effective kill on those units.
Really big force, and you know what's working out for Live Zerg overall is he got this third, and still NaNiwa is unaware of it. He thinks he's on 2 bases, and that's it. And at that point, you're not really in a rush to get any timing set up or anything. You just want to go ahead and macro up. If he knows his opponent is actually on 2 bases and just now grabbing his third, he might expand with just Blink and a couple of gateways. And that could be a little bit troublesome for him.
Or you could go for a really big Blink +2 all in, as we were speculating earlier. And I mean, taking a look back at this 4th base, let's see how Blink's going to matter. Some maps at bases, take a look at the natural example on Xel'Naga for natural expansion on Xel'Naga. Blink is just OP. In this situation, at that 4th, Blink looks like it's going to be possibly moderately effective. Take a look at this cliff line that he'll be able to blink down. But, you know, it's not a long distance away from the ramp, so overall, this is a build that's designed to actually, like, the +2 Blink build, it was actually It's a really good build, let's just say, versus slower third bases. It's really, really good versus that. In this situation, it's okay. We'll see what he can do with it.
We'll see if it's planned out, if NaNiwa's strategy will be working for him. We do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a 7th gateway on the field here. Followed up into a Robo.
Does LiveZerg have speed?
LiveZerg does have speed. He's finally finished it up, so he can deal with these stalkers very nicely here. And NaNiwa did see that, actually. The speed did finish up a little bit right when he dealt with these probes. Or dealt with this pylon and this photon cannon and those 2 zealots that did warp in. So NaNiwa is aware of what he has on the field here, except for this third, and he has no idea about it, and he's still not aware of it. Although he does see traffic going this way, so something could be a little bit fishy for him, but he'll be pushing in, expecting a smaller amount of units here, and there's actually going to be a decent amount of Links and Roaches popping out very soon.
NaNiwa is going to have Blink, though, and he does have +2, and he's got a fair quantity of sentries with this. Actually, a lot. That's 7 sentries. Wow. NaNiwa, what's he going to do with that Robo that he just made? He can make a Warp Prism here. He can make an Observer to protect against Burrow, which is actually on the way. Also, LiveZerg made a Hydra Den. He'll be able to make some very high DPS ranged units here if he so decides.
Oh my gosh, so LiveZerg played that really nicely there. He actually just sent his Lings to deal with that probe. And we only saw a few Roaches on the field here, so NaNiwa may underestimate him just a tad bit in terms of how strong his army force is. More Stalkers are now on the way. There are no Zealots actually in this composition, but the force fields do kind of help with that barrier as well. Makes it a tad bit harder for those Lings to get on top of these Stalkers. He's actually going straight for the third.
Yeah.
Link straight on in.
And here's the force fields, I think, just went down. They're going to cut the ramp off. Units are going to try to flank. Those are actually drones.
Trying to find probes. To kill off,
so this fourth is dead, man. But that's not actually that much of a loss for LiveZerg. He does still have his natural expansion.
Oh my gosh.
No workers.
He has no upgrades. That is actually really painful. I didn't realize he had no upgrades. He's at 0-0. +1 range is about to finish up, but now he can't fight this army. I mean, it's 2-0. You know what 2-0 does to 0-0? It destroys him. Roaches do pop out, and he's trying his best to get into this run here, but some nice blinks here from NaNiwa, some forces as well. See how everything's a nice choke here? It makes automatic concaves. He's trying to walk and snake his way on through, and he deals with these Roaches pretty darn nicely. No observers here. One has been queued up, but from here he's just going to deal with whatever he can. The Burrow, though, is helping out LiveZerg a lot to hold this off.
Yeah, LiveZerg, I mean, he just gunned it into NaNiwa's army and actually quartered him entirely, so NaNiwa had nowhere to blink. Then the Burrow came into effect. NaNiwa had no observer. That was incredibly played out of LiveZerg. I really thought he had a huge opportunity to die there, and then LiveZerg just got way too close to those Stalkers. NaNiwa had to blink back or else he was going to instantly lose them all, and that caused his sentries to all fall. A beautiful push there, a defense there out of LiveZerg. It couldn't have gone better for him.
No third here for NaNiwa. He hassled on his natural. Not very many units in the field here. Trying to follow up into a Robo Bay. He does have an Immortal out. It's going to help out a ton here. But now we have a huge opening available. And if he misses a force field, Roaches are going to pour into this natural. Zealots doing their best as well. But that Burrow is helping NaNiwa. Or I'm sorry, not helping NaNiwa at all. His Observer is actually down in the natural somewhere over here in the main. Yeah, he doesn't have it at his actual base here. And these Roach Burrows are so helpful to LiveZerg. He might potentially just die off here if we can get a snipe on that Immortal. Can he get the Immortal? The Immortal is low on HP. Down into the orange. He's trying his best to focus and fire down, and he does get it, and it looks like LiveZerg, being in his opponent's natural, is going to go and start tearing through some probes as well.
Yep, I mean, this was an all-in its truest form out of NaNiwa. LiveZerg is now tearing through his main base, and if you've gone for an all-in and the Zerg's now in your main, killing your units, got not much of a hope, my friends. NaNiwa looking like he might go down here in a second to LiveZerg. Even if he doesn't fall right here, right now, LiveZerg is incredibly far ahead with more than double his supply.
Well, we'll start poking out some probes here as well. Some Zealots are warped in, but yeah, it looks like the push has been off, but you are correct. NaNiwa is in quite a painful position, and Hydras are actually making their way straight to the natural. They do have, of course, that range upgrade helping them out a lot. +2/2 on the way. 14 Roaches about to be queued up. If I was LiveZerg, I'd pull these Hydras back. They're actually pretty valuable until he gets his Roaches in front. Gonna go ahead and engage here, though. And Hydras do a decent amount of damage against Stalkers. And by decent, I mean a ton. They actually tear through them very, very quickly there. With that Burrow, once again, LiveZerg just showing how powerful that upgrade can be. And here we go. Roaches now finally showing up. And dying.
2 sacks, 2 Roaches to save a Hydra, but, well, I'm waiting for the blink. There it is. That Hydra's still gonna be doomed.
Snipes. Stalker's pulling back, and NaNiwa, guys, I want to make this like really, really important for you to know. He's super far behind.
Yeah.
If he wins this game, it's a super strong feat. And he's warping some units in. Stalker's here as well, and a couple of Zealots are going to help out a lot. He has moved into Robo Bay, correctly? Could have swore I saw Robo Bay on the way to production tab. Yeah, he did. So he will be starting to get Colossus production out, but he's on 2 bases. He needs a third. And with these many Roaches on the field and 4 bases up, for LiveZerg, it's really hard to get that third because you just simply don't have enough units to deal with any types of waves of units coming your way.
Yeah, LiveZerg could just continue to trade here. And that really is all he needs to do. I mean, if NaNiwa keeps losing units, and LiveZerg can just... I mean, he has Blink Stalkers. There's some sentries. He'll cut these units a little in half. But, yeah, I mean, LiveZerg at this point, he can either continue to pressure and keep forcing sentries out of NaNiwa, which, as we're seeing another one warp in now, because NaNiwa needs to make sure he has enough force fields to cut that unit ball in half. Honestly, man, it's 77 workers to 52. So many roaches on the field. NaNiwa can't go for an attack. He has 2 bases. LiveZerg has 4. Can't see what NaNiwa can do from here. As a Terran in this situation, you want to drop, so perhaps a Warp Prism and some Harass is a really good option here for NaNiwa, but he's not going to be going for it. He's really going to work on these Colossus right now.
Something to note is he finally did finish that Robo, so as you mentioned, he can start moving towards Colossus, but he was for a good 2 to 3 minutes, couldn't build one because it got destroyed by the roaches that came into the natural. So that was quite painful. It really hindered NaNiwa as well, and he wants to have at least 1 to 2 Colossi in the field before he goes for this third, because that splash damage will help out so much, coupled with force field. If not, then LiveZerg can just barrel his way in and make sure he kills that third off. A Pro Ling here as well will force the Observer to come out of position to deal with that Ling, but he should be okay for a while. This natural, although not walled off, is still pretty easy to defend with a couple of force fields. But at the moment, behind all this, we have a Hive on the way, LiveZerg moving up into that 4th here. Does he actually have the double evolution chamber? Yes, he does. Now finally starting +1 melee attack. He does have +2 range on his Hydras and Roaches, so that's quite helpful. But moving up in those +1/1 really allows him to move towards Broodlords and still be strong with his Hive tech.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, he's making the Corruptors right now. Those are going to be able to easily deal with the Colossi. Does need to make sure he doesn't make the same mistake as last time, overproducing
this is still
Corruptors.
Empowered.
But yeah, he's got 8 out. Yeah, I mean, not really too much of a concern there. Luckily, you can still make Stalkers even with an unpowered Cybernetics core. If you guys don't know that, fun fact. Warp Prism on the way right now, actually, for NaNiwa, which I just loved him. We were talking about how we wanted to see some Harass. You'll get it. It's like asking for something for Christmas, and well, Santa Claus rewards you.
Thanks, Santa Claus. +3 is on the way now as well. So it's going to be quite helpful for NaNiwa if he wants to go for a push after, if he deals with a good portion. Remember last time when his third got attacked into, he did a lot of damage because it was focused down. The lives are not making the mistake here, but he's actually losing a lot of roaches. The Corruptors came actually a little bit late. They get focused down really quickly by the Stalkers. NaNiwa and his engagements have been just immaculate, I guess is the word we're going to go back to using again. Roaches and Hydras in trouble, and NaNiwa still having his Colossus. He blinks the Stalkers for the deal with the Corruptors. NaNiwa is actually doing really good here, killing a ton of supply from LiveZerg. Finally, the one Colossus does fall, but he blinks more Stalkers back as well. And NaNiwa, even though behind 179 supply, did really well in that engagement.
He did. That was crazy out of LiveZerg. So, I mean, the force fields went down. They cut his army in half beautifully. And when that happens, I fall back in most situations. Yeah. That's, I mean, okay. So he managed to get a Colossus and a lot of units, which is really nice.
He moved into so many Lings. Remember, they only have that +1 already. They don't have +2 compared to +3. It's about to be finishing up for NaNiwa. Whenever that +2 finishes up, +3 will be here as well. But Colossus burn through Lings really quickly, especially with a couple of force fields. Yeah, it does help, but still, it's really hard to reinforce on Lings. I don't know.
I'm more worried about a big Zealot warp in here from NaNiwa. I mean, if he warps in, you know, 8, 9, 10 Zealots, LiveZerg isn't going to be able to fully capitalize on the heavy Stalker composition of NaNiwa at this time, because he's only got 3 right now. But and there's some more Sentries and Stalkers, so that's good for LiveZerg at least. But he, of course, did want to save a lot of gas because he's teching towards Broodlords right now. His Hive's completed. He's got 6 Corruptors on the field, and he's got his Raider Spire on the way.
Well, 196 supply to 120. We do have, of course, as you saw, LiveZerg is at 80 drones to the 40 there of NaNiwa. Now he's moving his way up in that production there, almost 50, but Lings do make their way on in. Force fields do land right away. He wants to deal with these Corruptors versus Colossus. Really important.
Surround.
They're actually not focusing the Stalkers. There they go. They do go ahead and blink on back, but the surround was fantastic there for LiveZerg. And it looks like with the choke here, he's doing his best. NaNiwa just GG's out.
Yep. That's it, man. Really well played game there out of LiveZerg for sure. And NaNiwa, I think, did everything he could in that situation, but, I mean, that all comes down to the force fields from NaNiwa not being good enough to segment off the roaches. It was kind of cool how he creatively, I mean, if you guys remember, unfortunately, we can't pull it up this second, but there were 3 force fields. They cut LiveZerg's units in half. They went across from left to right. Then LiveZerg kind of ran around to the side of NaNiwa's army, and NaNiwa dropped 3 force fields up and down. So they actually made like a little bit of a T intersection where the force fields on the top did a good job segmenting off the top and the ones on the bottom, but then they wore off at different times, and all of a sudden, the units that were trapped up top, NaNiwa, I guess, was expecting that all the force fields, were going to wear off at the same time. I don't know, but all of a sudden, LiveZerg just barrel rushed in from all these roaches that were trapped on the top half, hugged up right against, and anytime that happens with a Protoss player where all the roaches are literally hugging around the Stalkers and Sentries, you're in for a world of hurt, potentially a loss very quickly. Luckily, NaNiwa dragged it out for a while, so it wasn't too demoralizing, but wow, LiveZerg, man, playing it right.
Great play with the Burrow Tech as well. And by the way, it's been actually mentioned on the Blizzard forums that they're thinking about doing Burrow at Hatchery Tech.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty strong to be doing that as well. So
I
something
really
to note about
like
Burrow.
that.
I do too, actually, overall. I think it's going to be a little bit easier to hold off a lot of aggressive bushes and be able to throw Bailings in. And Burrowman actually has a lot of Bailing mines. I think play will become a little bit stronger there. But nonetheless, that's something that's a bit noted on the Blizzard forums. But for now, you still have to get that Lair Tech to get Burrow. But we want to jump into game number 3 here, guys. LiveZerg versus NaNiwa. Winner goes to the finals. We'll be right back.